Listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you will fundamentally change how you understand attraction and completely revolutionize your approach to women. Right now, at this very moment, there are men walking among us who seem to effortlessly draw women into their orbit. Not because they're the most handsome, not because they have the most money, not because they drive the flashiest cars, but because they understand something that 95% of men completely miss. They understand the psychological triggers that create genuine desire in a woman's mind. These aren't tricks or manipulations. These aren't pickup lines you memorize or techniques you practice in the mirror. These are deeply rooted psychological principles that have been studied and validated by decades of research in evolutionary psychology, neuroscience, behavioral science, and social dynamics. You see, while most men are focused on the surface level, desperately trying to impress with material possessions, rehearsed pickup lines, or by pretending to be someone they're not, the men who truly understand attraction know that it happens in the mind first. The brain is the most powerful sexual organ, and attraction is fundamentally a psychological phenomenon before it becomes physical. Today, I'm going to reveal 8 psychological triggers that research has consistently shown to create genuine, lasting attraction in women. These aren't gimmicks that work temporarily and then backfire. These aren't temporary fixes that leave you constantly performing. These are fundamental aspects of human psychology that, when understood and authentically embodied, will transform not just your dating life, but your entire approach to relationships, social dynamics, and personal development. But before we dive into these 8 triggers, I need you to understand something crucial. Everything I'm about to share with you has been validated by scientific research, not by pickup artists selling courses, not by men's magazines trying to sell you products, but by legitimate researchers at universities like Harvard, Stanford, and Oxford who have dedicated their careers to understanding human attraction and mating behavior. Dr. David Buss at the University of Texas has conducted cross-cultural studies involving over 10,000 participants across 37 different cultures. Dr. Helen Fisher has used MRI brain scans to study what happens neurologically when people fall in love. Dr. John Gottman has followed thousands of couples for decades to understand what creates lasting attraction and relationship satisfaction. This isn't theory or speculation. This is hard science applied to the most fundamental aspect of human behavior: attraction. The first psychological trigger you need to understand is authentic confidence, but not the kind of confidence most men think they need. What most men believe is confidence is actually just bravado, compensation, or what psychologists call defensive masculinity. It's loud, it's aggressive, it's trying too hard, and it's completely transparent to women who have developed sophisticated psychological radar for detecting insecurity, masquerading as confidence. Real confidence, the kind that psychologically triggers attraction at the deepest level, is something entirely different and infinitely more powerful. Dr. David Buss, one of the world's leading evolutionary psychologists, has conducted extensive research showing that confidence is consistently rated as one of the most attractive traits in men across all cultures and throughout recorded history. But here's what makes the crucial difference between attractive confidence and unattractive bravado. Authentic confidence comes from a deep sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on external validation, approval from others, or any particular outcome. When you have genuine confidence, you're not trying to prove anything to anyone because you already know your own value. You're comfortable with silence because you don't need to fill every moment with noise. You're comfortable with uncertainty because you trust your ability to handle whatever comes. You're comfortable with the possibility of rejection because your self-worth isn't tied to any single interaction or outcome. This creates what psychologists call an approach orientation rather than an avoidance orientation. Men with approach orientation move toward what they want rather than away from what they fear. Women can sense this difference immediately on both conscious and unconscious levels. A confident man enters a room and his energy communicates something powerful. I'm here because I choose to be here, not because I need anything from anyone. I'm interested in connecting with people, but I don't need their approval to feel good about myself. This psychological state is incredibly attractive because it signals genetic fitness, emotional stability, leadership capability, and the kind of psychological security that women's evolutionary psychology is specifically wired to seek in potential mates. But here's where most men get it wrong. They try to fake confidence by acting arrogant, dominating conversations, name-dropping, showing off possessions, or putting others down to build themselves up. This backfires completely because it actually signals deep insecurity to women. Real confidence is quiet, calm, and centered. It doesn't need to announce itself because it's so obviously present. Think about the most naturally confident men you know personally. They're not the loudest guys in the room. They're not constantly trying to impress people, and they're not always talking about their accomplishments. Instead, they're genuinely interested in others. They're comfortable in their own skin. They handle challenges with composure, and they have what researchers call quiet leadership, the ability to influence and attract without force or manipulation. The second psychological trigger that creates deep attraction is something that Dr. Robert Cialdini extensively researches in his groundbreaking work on influence and persuasion: the power of mystery and strategic unpredictability. Women are psychologically drawn to men who maintain an element of positive unpredictability in their behavior, not because they want chaos or drama in their lives, but because predictability equals boredom on a fundamental neurological level. When someone is completely predictable, when you always know exactly how they're going to respond, what they're going to say, and what they're going to do, the brain stops paying attention because there's nothing new to process, no puzzles to solve, no mysteries to unravel. But when there's an element of mystery, when a man is consistent in his core values and character but unpredictable in his actions, responses, and the way he approaches life, it keeps a woman's brain actively engaged and constantly trying to figure him out. This isn't about being inconsistent, unreliable, or emotionally volatile in important matters. That kind of unpredictability creates anxiety and insecurity, which kills attraction. Instead, this is about being the kind of man who might surprise her with an unexpected adventure when she's expecting a routine date, who has depths and layers she hasn't fully explored, who has interests and passions that she's still discovering, who has stories from his past that continue to surprise her months or even years into knowing him. It means not always being immediately available when she texts, not because you're playing games, but because you have a genuinely full and interesting life. It means not always choosing the obvious restaurant or the predictable activity, but instead introducing her to new experiences, new places, new perspectives. It means not always responding to her comments and questions in exactly the way she expects, but instead challenging her thoughts, introducing new angles, making her see things from perspectives she hadn't considered. This kind of positive unpredictability creates what neuroscientists call intermittent reinforcement, which is one of the most powerful psychological principles for creating lasting interest, engagement, and yes, addiction-like attraction. Think about slot machines, which are designed using this exact principle. If they paid out every time, people would get bored and stop playing. If they never paid out, people would give up immediately. But because they pay out unpredictably, at random intervals, they create an incredibly powerful psychological hook that keeps people engaged for hours. The same principle applies to attraction. Men who are somewhat unpredictable in positive ways create a psychological dynamic where women become more invested, more curious, more engaged, because they never quite know what to expect next. The third trigger deals with something that evolutionary psychologist Dr. Jeffrey Miller calls cognitive fitness display in his research on sexual selection and human intelligence. This is essentially the way that intelligence, creativity, and wit signal genetic quality and mental fitness to potential mates. But intelligence alone isn't what creates attraction. It's how that intelligence is expressed and utilized in social interactions. Women are psychologically attracted to men who can engage in what researchers call verbal sparring or intellectual play, the kind of playful, challenging banter that demonstrates quick thinking, creativity, cultural knowledge, and the ability to hold your own in stimulating conversation. This isn't about being argumentative, condescending, or trying to prove you're smarter than her. Those behaviors actually signal insecurity and social incompetence. Instead, this is about being able to match her intellectually, to challenge her thoughts in ways that stimulate her mind rather than threaten her ego, to engage in the kind of conversation that makes time disappear and leaves her feeling mentally energized rather than drained. It's about being able to reference literature, history, science, current events, philosophy, or culture in ways that add depth and richness to your interactions. It's about being able to make connections between seemingly unrelated concepts, to see patterns that others miss, to offer insights that make her think, "I never thought of it that way before." Dr. Christopher Ryan, in his extensive research on human sexuality and evolutionary psychology, points out that intellectual stimulation activates many of the same neural pathways associated with sexual arousal. When you can engage a woman's mind, when you can make her think deeply, laugh genuinely, and see the world from new perspectives, you're literally creating neurochemical attraction in her brain. The neurotransmitters involved in intellectual excitement, dopamine, norepinephrine, and others, are the same chemicals involved in romantic and sexual attraction. This is why the most magnetically attractive men aren't necessarily those with the highest IQs, but those who know how to use their intelligence to create engaging, stimulating interactions that leave women mentally and emotionally excited. But here's the crucial distinction. This kind of intellectual attraction isn't about showing off your knowledge or trying to impress her with how much you know. It's about using your intelligence to create mutual enjoyment, to explore ideas together, to build on each other's thoughts, to create the kind of mental chemistry that makes conversations feel like adventures. It's about being genuinely curious about her thoughts and perspectives, asking questions that make her think, sharing insights that add value to her understanding of the world. When you can create this kind of intellectual connection, you're not just another guy she met. You become someone who expands her mind and enriches her inner world. The fourth psychological trigger is rooted in what social psychologists call pre-selection, or social proof. The deeply ingrained tendency for humans to find others more attractive when they see evidence that other high-value individuals are already attracted to them or want to be around them. This isn't about playing games, making anyone jealous, or manipulating social situations. It's about understanding that attraction is often social proof in action, and that women make assessments about men based not just on direct interaction, but on social context and evidence of how others perceive and respond to them. When a woman sees that other attractive, intelligent, high-quality women genuinely enjoy your company, respect your opinions, seek out your advice, or simply want to be around you, it signals to her unconscious mind that you possess valuable qualities that might not be immediately apparent to her. Dr. David D'Angelo's research into attraction patterns shows that women are naturally drawn to men who are already socially successful, not out of competition or jealousy, but because social success indicates the presence of valuable traits that have been validated by others. It's a form of psychological shorthand. If other discerning people find you valuable, you probably are valuable. This manifests in practical, authentic ways that don't require manipulation or game playing. Having genuine female friends who respect and enjoy your company, being someone who gets invited to social events because people genuinely want you there, being the kind of man that others naturally gravitate toward in group settings because you add value to social situations. It's about being genuinely socially calibrated, emotionally intelligent, and valuable to others in your social circle. Women pick up on these social dynamics instantly and intuitively, often without even consciously realizing they're doing it. A man who has earned the respect and friendship of other high-quality people is psychologically more attractive because he's already been vetted by others. He's proven his worth in social situations, demonstrated his character over time, and shown that he can maintain healthy relationships with a variety of people. This creates what researchers call social validation, external evidence that supports whatever positive impressions a woman might be forming about you. When she sees that you're not desperately trying to win her approval because you already have the respect and admiration of others, it actually makes you more attractive rather than less because it signals that you're a valuable person who has options and doesn't need to settle for just anyone. The fifth trigger involves something that Dr. John Gottman's 4 decades of relationship research has identified as absolutely crucial for long-term attraction and relationship success: emotional leadership and what he calls emotional regulation. This doesn't mean being controlling, dominating, or suppressing emotions. Instead, it means being the kind of man who can remain calm and centered when emotions run high, who can provide stability and perspective when life gets chaotic, and who can make clear decisions confidently when others are paralyzed by uncertainty or overwhelmed by choices. Women are psychologically attracted to men who can be their emotional anchor, not because they're weak or dependent, but because this kind of emotional leadership signals the ability to protect, provide guidance, and maintain stability in an uncertain and often chaotic world. Throughout human evolutionary history, women have been attracted to men who could provide not just physical protection, but emotional security and stability. This is hardwired into female psychology at the deepest level, and it remains just as relevant in modern dating and relationships as it was thousands of years ago. Emotional leadership means being able to stay grounded and centered when she's having a difficult day, being able to lighten the mood with appropriate humor when she's stressed or overwhelmed, being able to make decisions about where to go or what to do when she's paralyzed by too many options. It means being emotionally intelligent enough to read social situations accurately and respond appropriately, whether that means being playful and lighthearted to lift everyone's spirits or being serious and supportive when the situation calls for depth and gravity. This kind of emotional calibration and leadership is incredibly attractive because it demonstrates the rare combination of strength and sensitivity that research consistently shows women find most appealing in long-term partners. You're strong enough to remain stable when things get turbulent, but sensitive enough to recognize what kind of emotional response the situation requires. You can be the rock she leans on during difficult times, but you're also emotionally available and empathetic enough to truly understand and connect with her inner world. But here's what separates real emotional leadership from the controlling or manipulative behavior that some men mistake for leadership. Authentic emotional leadership is always in service of the relationship and the people involved, never in service of your ego or your need to control. It's about creating emotional safety and stability so that everyone can be their best selves, not about having power over others or getting your way. Women can instantly sense the difference between a man who provides emotional leadership from a place of genuine care and strength versus a man who tries to control emotions from a place of insecurity or need for dominance. The sixth psychological trigger is something that Dr. Helen Fisher's neurological research on love and attraction has identified as absolutely crucial for creating lasting romantic obsession: the ability to create what she calls intrusive thinking. This is the psychological phenomenon where a man becomes so interesting, so engaging, so multifaceted and intriguing that a woman finds herself thinking about him even when he's not around, wondering what he's doing, what he's working on, what he's thinking about, how he would respond to various situations she encounters throughout her day. This isn't about being obsessive, overwhelming, or trying to occupy all of her mental space. That kind of behavior is actually repulsive and creates the opposite effect. Instead, this is about being memorable in the right ways, about having enough depth, passion, and genuine interest in life that she naturally wants to learn more about you. It's about having what researcher Sherry Argov calls independent interests: pursuits, goals, passions, and projects that exist completely separate from your romantic life and that make you genuinely fascinating as a human being. Men who create healthy intrusive thinking are those who are actively building something meaningful with their lives. They might be artists working on creative projects that matter to them, entrepreneurs building businesses they're passionate about, athletes training for competitions that challenge them, intellectuals exploring ideas that fascinate them, craftsmen developing skills that give them deep satisfaction. They have what researchers call intrinsic motivation. They're driven by internal passion and curiosity rather than external validation or approval. When a woman meets a man like this, her brain naturally wants to categorize and understand him. But there's always more to discover. Every conversation reveals new layers, new interests, new perspectives, new aspects of his personality and character. This creates a psychological phenomenon where she finds herself genuinely curious about his inner world, his thoughts, his projects, his perspectives on life. She might find herself wondering how he would react to a movie she watched, what he would think about an article she read, what advice he might give about a challenge she's facing. This kind of mental engagement is the foundation of lasting attraction because it keeps her psychologically invested in getting to know him better. She's not just attracted to how he looks or what he can do for her. She's attracted to who he is as a complete human being. She wants to explore his mind, understand his motivations, learn from his experiences, and be part of the interesting life he's creating for himself. This creates the kind of deep, multi-dimensional attraction that goes far beyond surface-level physical chemistry and creates the foundation for long-term relationship satisfaction. The seventh psychological trigger involves what evolutionary psychologists call genetic fitness signaling, through what Dr. David Buss and other researchers term resource potential and future orientation. But this isn't about flashing money, expensive possessions, or trying to impress with material wealth. Those tactics actually signal insecurity and can attract the wrong kind of women for the wrong reasons. Instead, this is about demonstrating the psychological and character traits that indicate you have the ability to acquire and manage resources effectively, to build something meaningful over time, and to create security and abundance through your own efforts and capabilities. This includes demonstrating traits like ambition that's grounded in genuine passion rather than ego, work ethic that comes from intrinsic motivation rather than external pressure, intelligence applied to solving real problems rather than just showing off, creativity that produces actual value rather than just seeking attention, and leadership ability that serves others rather than just advancing yourself. Women are psychologically programmed through millions of years of evolution to be attracted to men who show signs of being able to provide and protect, not because they're materialistic or gold diggers, but because these traits indicate genetic fitness, psychological stability, and the kind of long-term thinking that creates security for families and offspring. In modern contexts, this manifests as having goals you're actively working toward with concrete plans and consistent action. Having skills you're continually developing that add real value to your life and the lives of others. Having projects you're passionate about that demonstrate your ability to start something and see it through to completion. Having a vision for your future that you're consistently moving toward with purpose and determination. It's about being the kind of man who sees problems as opportunities to demonstrate competence, who views obstacles as challenges to overcome rather than excuses to give up, who has the kind of mindset and character that naturally leads to success in whatever field he chooses to pursue. Women are attracted to this potential energy, this sense that you're a man who's going somewhere meaningful and building something valuable with his life. They can sense the difference between a man who's coasting through life, waiting for opportunities to come to him, versus a man who's actively creating opportunities and building the kind of life that others want to be part of. This isn't about what you have right now. It's about the trajectory you're on and the character traits you demonstrate in how you approach challenges, opportunities, and long-term goals. The eighth and perhaps most powerful psychological trigger is something that Dr. Robert Sternberg's triangular theory of love identifies as essential for lasting attraction and relationship satisfaction: the ability to create genuine intimacy and emotional connection without neediness, desperation, or loss of individual identity. This is perhaps the most delicate balance in all of human relationships. Being emotionally available and vulnerable while maintaining your sense of self, being able to share your inner world while keeping your individual identity, being able to create deep connection while maintaining healthy independence. Women are psychologically drawn to men who can be vulnerable and open while maintaining their psychological strength and center, who can share their real thoughts and real feelings without becoming emotionally dependent or losing their masculine edge, who can create those moments of genuine connection that make her feel understood, appreciated, and emotionally safe without becoming clingy, possessive, or overly attached to any particular outcome. This kind of emotional availability combined with healthy independence is psychologically irresistible because it offers the promise of both deep connection and personal freedom, both intimacy and individuality. This kind of balanced intimacy requires what psychologist Dr. David Schnarch calls differentiation in his research on relationships and sexual intimacy. The psychological ability to be close to someone while remaining true to yourself, to care deeply about someone while maintaining your own emotional center, to be affected by someone's emotions without being controlled by them. It means being able to share your real thoughts and feelings authentically, being able to be both playful and serious as the moment requires, being able to create those moments of genuine emotional and intellectual connection that make her feel like you truly see and understand who she is as a person. But it also means maintaining your own interests, your own goals, your own social connections, your own emotional center, your own sense of purpose and direction in life. This combination of emotional availability and healthy independence is psychologically irresistible because it signals that you're choosing to be with her from a place of strength and genuine attraction rather than neediness or desperation. She knows that your feelings for her are real because you don't need her to complete you or fix you or save you from loneliness or insecurity. Now, here's what separates men who truly understand these psychological principles from those who try to use them as techniques, tricks, or manipulation tactics: authenticity and genuine personal development. Every single one of these triggers only works when it comes from a genuine place, when it's an authentic expression of who you actually are, rather than a performance you're putting on to get a particular result. Women have incredibly sophisticated psychological radar for detecting incongruence, for sensing when someone is being genuine, versus when they're trying to manipulate, impress, or present a false version of themselves. The men who are most successful with women long-term aren't those who have memorized the most techniques, learned the smoothest pickup lines, or perfected the most convincing performances. They're the men who have done the difficult inner work to actually become the kind of men who naturally embody these attractive qualities. They've developed genuine confidence through facing their fears and building real competence. They've become genuinely interesting by pursuing passions and interests that fascinate them. They've developed emotional intelligence through honest self-examination and learning from their mistakes. They've built genuine social value by becoming the kind of people others actually want to be around. This is why focusing on authentic self-development is so crucial for anyone who wants to be genuinely attractive to high-quality women. When you're genuinely confident, when you're genuinely interesting, when you're genuinely emotionally intelligent, when you're genuinely passionate about building something meaningful with your life, these attractive qualities become part of who you are, rather than something you have to remember to do or perform. And women can sense this authenticity immediately. They're attracted not just to the qualities themselves, but to the fact that these qualities come from a real place, that they're dealing with a man who has done the work to become genuinely attractive, rather than someone who's trying to fake it until he makes it. Understanding these psychological triggers also means understanding that attraction isn't something you do to someone. It's something you create with someone through genuine interaction, mutual respect, and authentic connection. The most attractive men aren't those who are trying to get something from women, validation, sex, relationship, ego boost, but those who are offering something valuable, their authentic selves, their genuine interest, their real personality, their actual life experience and wisdom. They understand that the goal isn't to make every woman attracted to you, which is impossible and undesirable, but to be attractive to the kind of women who are genuinely compatible with who you are and what you're building in your life. This is why developing these qualities benefits every area of your life, not just your dating and relationship life. Genuine confidence makes you more successful professionally and more respected socially. Emotional intelligence makes you a better friend, family member, and colleague. Having genuine passions and interests makes your life more fulfilling and gives you stories worth telling. Being socially calibrated makes you more influential and respected in every social context. Working on yourself to become genuinely attractive doesn't just help you with women. It helps you become the kind of man you're proud to be. The kind of man who creates value in the world and makes other people's lives better by being in them. The scientific research is overwhelmingly clear on this point. Long-term relationship satisfaction and sustained attraction depend much more on psychological compatibility, emotional connection, and genuine personal development than on surface-level factors like physical appearance, material possessions, or social status. Dr. John Gottman's longitudinal studies, which have followed thousands of couples for decades, show that couples who maintain long-term attraction and happiness are those where both partners continue to grow as individuals, continue to be interesting to each other, continue to maintain their individual identities while building something meaningful together. This means that the work of becoming attractive isn't something you do until you find someone and then stop. It's an ongoing process of becoming the best version of yourself throughout your entire life. So here's what I want you to understand at the deepest level. These 8 psychological triggers aren't pickup techniques or manipulation tactics designed to trick women into being attracted to you. They're insights into fundamental human psychology that can help you understand what creates genuine, lasting attraction between people who are genuinely compatible. When you embody these qualities authentically, when they become part of who you are rather than something you perform or remember to do, you'll find that your interactions with women become more natural, more enjoyable, and more successful. You'll stop trying desperately to impress and start genuinely connecting. You'll stop worrying obsessively about rejection, because you'll know that you have real value to offer and that the right women will recognize and appreciate that value. You'll stop playing games and using techniques, because you'll be genuinely interesting enough and valuable enough that games become unnecessary and counterproductive. Remember, the ultimate goal isn't to become someone else or to manipulate anyone into being attracted to you against their better judgment. The goal is to become the most attractive version of yourself, to develop the qualities that make you genuinely appealing to the kind of women you want to build relationships with, and to approach dating and relationships from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, from a place of strength rather than neediness, from a place of genuine value rather than desperate seeking. When you understand these psychological principles and embody them authentically over time, attraction becomes less mysterious and more natural. You start to understand not just what women find attractive, but why they find it attractive, and that understanding gives you the foundation to build genuine connections based on mutual respect, compatibility, and real chemistry that can last for years or even decades. The men who truly succeed with women long-term, who build the kind of relationships that other men envy and that women treasure, aren't those who have the most techniques or the smoothest approaches. They're the ones who have done the difficult work of becoming genuinely attractive human beings, who offer real value in relationships, who understand that the best way to find love is to become worthy of it through genuine personal development and authentic character building. And that's exactly what these 8 psychological triggers can help you do when approached with the right mindset, authentic intention, and commitment to becoming the best version of yourself, rather than just trying to get quick results with women. This is your opportunity to move beyond surface-level attraction tactics and manipulative techniques and start building the kind of genuine attractiveness that creates lasting, meaningful connections with high-quality women who will enhance your life rather than drain it. The choice is entirely yours. You can keep trying to figure out what women want and how to give it to them, or you can start becoming the kind of man they naturally gravitate toward, respect, and want to build something meaningful with. The psychology is clear, the research is solid, the principles are proven, and the path forward is right in front of you.